We are back at the Blend Cement Country Studio, and I'm going to be showing you step for step how to tackle those old ugly bathroom towels. So the first thing you need to do is wash your towels, especially your grout lines. The reason we do this is often there's mold and grime that sits in these grout lines that really needs to be cleaned out prior to applying any product. So we've got our lovely pre-wash here. You would typically mix this in a 1:20 ratio. Because it's 500 mils of pre-wash, that means 1 full bottle to 10 liters of water. However, if you find there's a lot of stubborn dirt, you can actually mix it in a much stronger ratio and use that. You can actually even pour it directly onto your towels and use that to scrub the grime off. This is an eco-friendly product, so it's fabulous. I mean, I use it everywhere in my house. I use it to clean my floors, I use it to clean my countertops. It really is a wonderful product. As you can see, I'm not using a ratio. I'm sort of just guesstimating how much I need. So I've put that in, give a little mix in here, and I'm just going to scrub these grout lines. Get any dirt and dust out of there. Okay, and then I'm also going to take my scrubbing brush and dip a bit of it in here and scrub all the grime off of my tiles. And if I see there's any stubborn dirt, as I said, you can simply pour it directly onto your tiles and scrub away. So this is the first step to tackling any tiles in a bathroom, on your floors, wherever, even in your kitchen. I mean, if you've got a tiled kitchen and you're wanting to redo that without having to actually take all the tiles out of your kitchen or to create a beautiful cement-based backsplash, you can do it, but make sure you wash out all that oil or any grubby mess that's maybe gotten stuck in between in these grout lines. So there you have it. Welcome back to the Blend Cement Country Studio. So I'm now going to be showing you how to make a thick mix. The reason we make a thick mix is to fill in those tedious little grout lines. So should you want to redo those old ugly bathroom towels, you'll need to do this beforehand. So the ratio we're going to use here is 1 thinning agent to 3 cement powders. We want it nice and thick, very much like a toothpaste-like consistency. So I've got my 1 thinning agent. If you hear a tractor, as I said, we are in our country studio. I'm now going to add 3 powders. 1. When it comes to blend cement, consistency is key. So as you become more and more confident in using the product, you'll quickly see that yes, you want to stick to ratios. At the end of the day, it is cement. You want to create maximum strength and adhesion, but you do have room to play. You'll quickly get a good feel for the product and say, oh, I need to add a little bit more powder. I need my paste a little bit thicker, or I've thickened it too much and need to add a bit of thinning agent. But typically, if you stick to the ratios, you should be fine. So now I'm going to give this a little swirl. Otherwise, I'm going to have powder everywhere. You can already see that it's actually very, very thick, which is exactly what we want. Here we go. So now, as you can see, I have created my thick paste to use on my bathroom towels. However, I do feel like this is a little bit too runny for my liking. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon or 2 more of my cement powder. Like I said, consistency is key. You'll very, very quickly get a feel for this product. It's so forgiving, so easy to use, and you'll be able to establish whether you need to add more powder, less powder, or more thinning agent. And there you go. You can see this is very much a thick paste-like consistency that I'm now going to use to fill my towels grout lines. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Blend Cement Country Studio. Now that we have washed our towels and allowed them to dry properly, we are going to use our thick mix that we made earlier on to actually fill in our grout lines. So I'm going to take a bit of product and I'm going to use my lovely short blade trowel. Again, this has been designed specifically for blend cement and is lovely. I mean, I'm not going to go and try and hack it with a massive industrial troweler. So this is lovely and perfect to fill these tedious little grout lines. So, let's see, I'm just filling them nicely here. Don't worry about any excess product on the towels. I mean, that you can scrape up later on. You can even use a damp cloth to wipe it off. The big thing with this as well is to remember, again, it's cement, it's not paint. So you can't apply this and immediately decide, okay, now you're going to trowel your product over it or do your slurry over it. It's very important to leave this to cure for approximately 12 hours. And if you can, even longer. You know, the longer the better. But 12 hours should be good, and it gives it enough curing time. See how I've just actually scraped any excess product off of my towels. We are still actually going to later on do a slurry over these towels, so if there's a little bit left over here or there, it's not a problem. And there you have it. That's how you fill your grout lines. Now that our grout lines have set, I'm going to apply our primer that we mixed earlier, that you can apply quite liberally to your tiles. If you find there's any sagging, as when there's product shrinkage, it is cemented, it slightly sags down because obviously you'll be doing this upright against a wall. You can just then later on, once it's dried a little bit, just go and apply a little bit more of your primer. And then the important thing to remember is that it is cement, it cures, it doesn't dry. So we waited for our grout lines to set just enough for us to be able to apply this without taking any product out of the grout lines. But now, once I've applied my primer, we're going to leave this for at least 12 hours to cure properly before actually troweling our product onto our towels. This creates maximum adhesion and strength. And there you have it, simple as that. That's how we apply our primer to our towels. You can also apply this to melamine countertops, to glass tabletops, to pretty much anything that you're wanting to redo. Now that we have left our grout lines and our primer to cure for the last 12 hours, we can now apply our first coat of product. So, I'm just going to put some on my trowel. The big thing to remember with this is often when it comes to first coats, we try and sort of cover and have full coverage over whatever we're applying it to, whether it be that old melamine countertop or our bathroom tiles. But the important thing to remember with this product is on your first coat, second coat and third coat, the thinner you apply the product, the better. And rather do more coats. If you're not happy come the third coat, add another coat rather than applying a thick pasty layer onto your surface. So now I'm just going to pull this through as much as possible, and you can actually see some of my tiles and some of my primer coming through on the other side, and this is a good thing. Again, the thinner the better. Pull this through here. This is such a therapeutic process, and having this beautiful little short blade trowel makes it so incredibly easy to do and to use, especially if you are going to be tackling your bathroom walls yourself. That in there, for those edges. And you can actually see I'm taking product off of my trowel and off of my towels, but it's because I rather want a thinner coat. And there you go, there's our first coat on our towels. Okay, so now we have left our first coat to dry just enough in order for us to apply our second coat. So we are going to put that on, and you can pretty much apply all 3 or 4 coats in a day. The important thing is to ensure that each coat has dried enough so that when you do apply the next coat, it doesn't lift the first coat of product or the previous coat of product. And then what we'll do is, once we've applied the second coat and we've left this to dry just enough, we'll apply our third coat. And then the important thing is, once you've applied all of your coats to whatever project you're doing, that's when the curing time becomes important, and you're going to let that stand for quite some time before actually then sealing. But you can always apply each coat after one another, as long as it's your first coat and then second coat has dried enough not to pick up any of the previous coat's product. So you can see how I'm trialing. I'm not picking up any of my first coat's product, which is great. That's exactly what we want. And again, remember, we want rather more thin coats than thicker coats. The reason we also do this is because it creates a lot more movement applying a few thinner coats to your surface versus applying one thick coat or two thick coats. So we want as much movement as possible. And that's what makes this product so incredibly beautiful, especially when creating feature walls or redoing countertops or tabletops, is the movement that you can actually create because it is a cement-based product. I mean, look at this beautiful movement, and this is only our second coat. And there you have it. There's the second coat. Okay, so now we have left our first and second coats to dry just enough so that we can apply our third coat. Again, keep in mind that in between coats and stuff, you're going to leave them each for just enough time for you to be able to apply every coat without lifting the previous coat's product. That's the important thing when trialing and applying your product. And we also want to keep it as thin as possible, because as you can see here, I'm creating beautiful movement. So you rather do a few more coats that are thin versus one or two really thick, clammy coats. It's not ideal doing that. So I'm going to pull my product through as thinly as possible because I want maximum movement. And now what I'm going to do is actually flatten my trowel a little bit as I pull along, and I'm going to cross hatch. What this does is it creates more movement and creates a little bit of a burning effect on our cement, and that's ideally what you want to create that beautiful marbled look on your project. See how I'm actually going as flat as possible and as hard as possible and cross hatching as much as possible. Create the maximum movement that I can. And here you can see the little bit of burning and the beautiful movement that we're creating just by flattening our trowel and pulling it quite aggressively across in different directions. And there you go. So I've now left my product that I applied to my towels to cure for 48 hours. That curing time is incredibly important because we are working with cement. If you apply your sealer too soon to your product, you're going to end up with a sticky mess and it's not going to harden properly. So please, please, please leave it for at least 48 hours to cure. Today I'm going to be discussing Essential Seal and Extreme Seal. Essential Seal, it's all in the name. These are for your essentials like picture frames, cupboard doors. You can even use it on your feature walls in your lounge or your bedroom. And Extreme Seal, this is very much for the hard wearing surfaces like your kitchen countertops, your dining room tabletop, your bedside tabletops, and also water prevalent areas like your shower wall or bathroom walls. If you are going to have it around your basin area, you would use Extreme Seal. For demonstration purposes today, I'm going to be using the Extreme Seal. And I'm going to use a blondie brush. You can buy this at any builder's hardware store. The biggest thing to remember is we would typically use a blondie brush as well as a mohair roller. So you would cut with your blondie brush and then actually apply the rest of the sealer over the large surface with the mohair roller. Again, use your natural or white colored mohair roller and use your natural colored blondie brush. The reason we do that is if you use a red or a black bristled paintbrush, what happens is often when you dip it into your sealer and you apply it, it actually pulls the color from the paintbrush. It's an incredibly strong product and it could ruin your project. So please, please, please always use the natural bristles or the lighter bristled paintbrushes. The blondie brush works best. If this were a wall in my bathroom, because I am applying over tiles, I would again cut and then use my roller. But for demonstration purposes today, I'm just going to be using a blondie brush. So I'm going to pour a bit of my Extreme Seal into my bowl, and you'll see with this product a little bit goes a really, really long way. Again, it is such a strong product. I've done all my bathrooms in my home, I've done my dining room tabletop, I've done my kitchen tops, and this is really incredible. I mean, we've messed red wine, coffee, you name it, and it fortunately has not stained nor penetrated the sealer, so my countertops still look absolutely fabulous. So you see, if this were a wall, I would typically cut and then roll. And you can see it's got a little bit of a milky white tone to it, which is actually quite nice, because I find when you are applying it onto a larger surface and having to use a roller to roll it out, you can distinctly see where you've rolled out enough and where you may need to roll a little bit more just to smoothen it out and to ensure that your whole surface has been coated, but you're also not sitting with drips and drip marks anywhere afterwards. So, and there you go. My bathroom tiles have been sealed. Now that I've sealed my bathroom tiles, you can see distinctly that it is touch dry. However, this sealer needs to cure, so it is vitally important that you actually let Extreme Seal stand for at least 5 days to cure properly and strengthen and just harden in order to give you the best possible finish you can get. And this will also just ensure that there's no water penetration or anything like that in those shower or water prevalent areas. So please, please, please remember to let it stand for 5 days. Even though it's touch dry, it's important that it cures.